Well, everything has a beginning, an origin. Things are born, and in birth, there is pain, but there's also joy. In death, only pain, sorrow. And through the ages, people have been trying to find a way to live forever, for immortality. Maybe in religion, maybe some conjuring. But I think immortality might be simpler than that. Perhaps if we concern ourselves with kindness, with compassion, with actually having our actions speak louder than our words, perhaps we will live forever in somebody's heart. And in my story, which comes from Puerto Rico, that's where I was born, is the story of life and death. It's a story of Tia Miseria, and she might have lived forever, we'll find out. Tia means aunt in Spanish. Now, Tia Miseria was an old woman, very old. And she lived in a small town in Puerto Rico, in a little house where she had a small garden. She grew many wonderful things in her garden, but the pride of her garden was a mango tree. She grew the most delicious mangoes from miles around. People would come to ask her for mangoes, and if you asked nicely, she'd give you a few. She was very kind. But the children, not so much. They would sneak into her garden, climb the tree, and steal her mangoes. They knew she couldn't climb the tree, she was so old. When she saw them, she would hobble out, and she would shake her fist at them, but they would just laugh and tease her and taunt and say, Tia Miseria, na 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 na. They knew she couldn't do anything about it. Oh, she would just sit there and she would think about it all the time, and when they were done eating, they would run down and run away laughing because she couldn't run. They knew it. And their parents, they wouldn't do anything about it, and she knew it, but she thought about it all the time. What could she do? Well, like I said, she was kind. She would share things with people. And one day, an old man came to her door. And he was bent from the years, and he was covered from the dust of the road. And he asked if perhaps he could come and sit on her porch for a while and maybe have a drink of water. And she saw how hungry he looked and how tired. And she said, no, no. Today, you come in, I'm going to give you half of my supper. And you're going to sleep on my bed. Me, I can sleep on the floor. I'll be good there. Well, in the morning, the old man went to the door, and he turned around to thank her, and he stood up straighter than ever. And the years fell from him like rainwater. And he said, Tia Miseria, you were so kind, I will grant you one wish. What do you wish? She knew what she wanted. She took him out to the garden, and she said, you see that mango tree? Anybody who climbs that mango tree, he doesn't come down until I say so. It was a strange request, but the stranger said, so be it. And he vanished. Now the next day, the children snuck into the garden. They climbed the tree. They began to eat mangoes. Tia Miseria hobbled out. She looked at them, and they teased, and they said, Tia Miseria, na, 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 na. She just looked at them and smiled. When they were done eating, they tried to come down. They tried to come down, but they were stuck. The little bottoms were stuck to the branches, and they cried, and they wept, and they pleaded, and she just went, na, 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 na. Oh. They cried some more. But when they promised that they would never steal mangoes again, she snapped her fingers, and down they came. They ran away. They were gone in an instant. Well, as I said, Tia Miseria was an old woman. So one day, death came to her door. He knocked. Tia Miseria, I have come for you. Oh, you have come for me? Or is it that time already? Well, you know, if I must go, I must go. But first, please, do me a favor, por favor. Can you get me one less mango from my mango tree? Well, Death obliged, and he climbed the mango tree, and he searched, and he found the ripest, the most beautiful mango, and he plucked it. But when he tried to come down, he was stuck. He couldn't come down, and he roared. Ah! He bellowed. There was nothing he could do. He was stuck. Tia Miseria just looked up and said, nah, 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 nah. Now many of us can thumb our noses up at death. She did. Well, the days passed. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the months into years, and no one died. Nothing died. Death was cut up in the tree. Well, one day, her neighbor came in, and her neighbor was even older than Tia Miseria, and her neighbor said, Tia Miseria, you know, I'm so old, I can't open my hand because my arthritis is killing me. My knees don't work anymore. Please, can you let Death go because I'm ready to go with him? Well, she asked so nicely. Of course she had to oblige. So she went to the tree to release Death, but not until he promised never to come for her. So now in Puerto Rico and all over the world, everything dies. Everyone dies because death comes for us, but not Tia Miseria. She lives in Puerto Rico and all over the world. Miseria is Spanish for misery. That's my story.